Hello guys, and welcome to this 10th tutorial about the full SQL course for beginners. If you haven't already watched the first part, you can find the link in the description. In this tutorial, we are going to talk about TCL commands. So TCL stands for Transaction Control Language. TCL commands are used to have more control on transactions, and a transaction can be defined as one or more logical SQL statements made by. So we have the data manipulation language commands, we have the insert, the update, and the delete. MySQL treats a transaction as a single unit, as we have said, with one or more logical statements, and the statements can be saved or not at the end of each transaction. We have three transaction commands. We have commit, rollback, and savepoint. Commit used to permanently save changes made with a transaction, whereas rollback is used to go back to a save point or to the previous state before the current transaction without saving the changes. And savepoint is used to create save points, which allows to save one part of the transaction. A transaction starts with start transaction and it ends when it is committed. So when using commit to permanently save changes, or rollback to roll back to a given save point or to the previous state. So to understand better, we are going to use the joins database and we are going to use the first table. So in this table, we have two columns and we have 5 rows. So we have the ID and the name. The ID is an integer and the name is a character. As you know, by default, all changes are saved automatically in MySQL. For example, when you create a table, when you update, when you insert, when you delete, everything is saved automatically. So to remove that, we can set the autocommit equals to 0. For example, when we set autocommit equals to 0 and we update a table or a given row in a table, if we don't manually save the changes, nothing will be saved. Okay, so just to have more control on your queries and your SQL statements while analyzing. So as we have said, transaction starts with start transaction. We set first autocommit equals to 0. We start transaction. We insert into table 1 a new row. So we write insert into table 1. So I didn't write the name of the columns. So we add them in order. We write values 6, 6th row, and we add a character. So we execute that. And we have said each transaction ends whether it is committed, okay, it is saved, or when we use rollback. Here, when we use rollback, so we ignore this change. And if we select all from table 1, as you can see, nothing has changed because rollback is used to go back to the previous state before the transaction. So we come back to this state before inserting the table. Whereas if we start the transaction again, we insert and we use commit in the place of rollback. We execute that. So when we select all from table 1, as we have said, commit is used to save the changes in the transaction. So we started the transaction, we inserted a row, and we saved. So when select all from table 1, we can see the new row. Okay, so here we have one SQL statement in the transaction. We have used start transaction, and we have saved our changes. Okay, so now you can see the difference between commit and rollback. So I'm going to delete this row, right? Select all from table 1. Now we have the table. When we go to the second example, as we have said, it can be used with insert, update, or delete. So now we have an example using update. Same thing, we are going to use joins database. We select all from table 1. So we have the 5 rows. We set autocommit equals to 0. We start a transaction and we update. So update table 1, set name 1 equals to this character where ID equals to 5. Before we have said that we have ID where ID equal to 5, the name is null. Now we want to change null into this character. Okay, so we have started our transaction, we update our table, and we save that as save point 1. Okay, we call it point 1. So we save that. We do another update, so we will change the name where ID equals to 1, okay? But we will not take this one into consideration because we will use rollback 2.1. So as we have said, save point, it will save for us a part of this transaction, which is the first, and it will not save this one. So when we write rollback 2.1 and select all from table, we can see that the ID equals to 5 has been taken into consideration, so the null value is replaced with this string, whereas where ID equals to 1, we didn't change the A with Z, okay? We used the update, but when we used the rollback 2.1, MySQL ignored this update, okay? So this is how we use rollback to save point. We create a save point, we give it a name, then when we roll back to this save point, we ignore these changes made after this save point. Okay, so this is used generally, for example, when you want to do some modifications on your table and you want to go back to the previous state. This is really useful. The other example is using delete. Okay, same thing, we are going to use joins. We select all from table 1. So now we have modified the fifth row. The null value is replaced with a character. We set auto commit equals to 0. We start a transaction. We delete, so we delete the fifth row. So write delete from table 1 where ID equals to 5. We save that, so now we have only 4 rows. We don't have the ID equals to 5 row. Save point. And after the save point, we will update. So write update table 1, set name 1 equals to Z, where ID equals to 1. Same thing, since it is after the save point and we want to roll back to point A, so this will be ignored, okay? So we will end our transaction by writing rollback to point A. And when we select all from table 1, we can see that the fifth row is deleted and the first row where ID equals to 1, it has the same string. It did not change the A's into Z's. Alright, so as we have said, the TCL commands are used mainly with DML comments, which are insert, update, and delete. And these three comments are commit, rollback, and save point. And they are generally used to have more control on your SQL queries. So that's it for the TCL comments. I hope that you have learned new things. Thanks for watching and see you in the next tutorial.